I'm Kristin.
And I'm Rebecca.
This is Southern Belles and Chilling Tales.
True crime and paranormal tales.
All right, I'm going to wait for you to drink your beer.
Okay. All right, I'm ready.
We always have to have something to get started.
Yeah.
Medicine, coffee, beer.
Beer.
We're all kind of jacked up.
Yeah.
Hi, Lily.
Lily, our number one fan, has returned.
The dog, not the demon.
It's not a demon. It was a small child.
Demon. Oh, by the way, I do want to say, you haven't heard it yet, but I think we might have got, would you call it an EVP if I heard a sound in the background?
I guess, yeah.
It definitely sounded like a voice.
Because we didn't hear it with our own ears. It was just recorded, so it would have to be an EVP.
Yeah, it freaked me out because I think it was when you first started talking about it. I'll have to find the little clip and I'll give it to you. If I find it, I'll post it too.
Okay.
So we got to do some corrections because number one from last time, It is not a dildo that was created. It was the vibrator.
Close enough.
Right, but I thought there was something wrong with what I was saying because I'm like, I heard on other things that they used to have wooden dildos.
Ooh.
Yeah, splinters.
That's what I was thinking.
Nice to know.
Yeah.
Other correction is it's a ovulus, not an oculus. That's why I was confused because I'm like, the kids have an Oculus. So
yeah,
I was like,
that's that 3D thing.
Yeah.
Well, you know
virtual
what?
reality. Yeah.
You know what? It wouldn't be fun if we didn't make mistakes.
Exactly.
At least yours was way closer. Yours was
That's closer.
Yours was closer than mine. Mine's a 3D game instead.
Maybe we're their virtual reality.
Who pointed out the errors?
Oh, me. Well, because I watched that show you told me to watch.
Oh, okay, good.
What was it? What is it called?
Destination Fear?
Yeah, and they were talking about, or was I maybe watching Ghost Adventures? One of the two. I definitely watched Destination Fear. Well, I didn't watch the whole episode because I fell asleep. I fell asleep. You look like there's a is that little boy that makes that face where he's like got his lips pursed together and he's looking at you like you're ridiculous.
Well, we always do that because when my Mima heard something ridiculous, she'd go, It's a nice Southern way to be like, you're so dumb.
Ours was just one. It was like,
Well, you know.
All right, so I do just want to address, I have asthma and severe allergies, so if you hear me coughing and sniffing, well, that is me. And I'm sorry, I'm just procrastinating going to the doctor. So hopefully I'll get that fixed soon.
Okay, very good. All right, so what scary tale do you have for us today?
I don't know if it's scary so much as mysterious and spooky. So if you're ready, we're going to go to Russia.
Yay.
In our minds, of course.
Yes, not for real.
Okay, and I'm going to try my best to pronounce these Russian names. And I was on there trying to learn the Russian alphabet.
That might have been a little bit more than we need, but I appreciate your tenacity.
A few more studies and I'll be able to read Russian. I won't know what it means, but...
But I'll know what letter it is.
Okay, so where we're going in Russia it's called Sverdlovsk Oblast. The Soviet Union because it was 1959. So there are 10 hikers that enter the northern Ural Mountains and only one returns. Yeah.
This is why I don't like to go outdoors. You don't know if you could return.
Yeah. Well, I love hiking, but I'm not trying to hike in the snow.
It's kind of like those people who are like, I want to climb Mount Everest.
No.
And then they're like, did you hear those people went missing? You're like, bitch, stay out of the mountains. Stay off of Mount Everest.
Do you know they have to take oxygen to so they don't die up there?
Yes, the altitude gets so high the oxygen is too thin. If it's a requirement to bring your own air to breathe, it should be a sign from God that people don't belong there.
Yeah, exactly. Apparently there's this huge line when you get up there, which is ridiculous, and to me it would ruin the whole experience. People die in that line, and then you have to just walk by these dead bodies.
No, I don't think so.
So anyway, for those of you familiar, you already recognize it. We're talking about the Dyatlov Pass Incident.
That was my beer can for those of you who are unfamiliar like I am. In 1959, you say?
Yes,
like
1959.
Old man. 1959, you see? I love how thorough yours is, and then I totally mispronounced.
But
I said oculus instead of ovulus.
oh, we're going to have plenty of corrections.
That'll be great.
And if you are going to correct us online or somewhere, please be nice.
Because we probably know you guys, and we will find you.
We might sound like we're know-it-alls, but we're really not. We know that we mess up.
It's part of our charm.
I think it's the teachers in us.
Yeah.
You have to go up there and act like you know it all.
Yeah.
All right, so before I actually get started, I have to tell you about that website that I got a little too deep into,
Okay.
and that's what made me take so long getting this ready.
All right.
So it is called the Dyatlovpass.com. Anybody who wants to dive in a little deeper than I did, there's pretty much everything you could want there. They have like the case files, they have the diaries of these people, they have a little bit of a profile for each. I would have preferred a little more on a couple of them, but I mean, I think they just didn't know. But it's got all the photos. They have the photos from all these different kinds of cameras. They have photos from the search party. It's pretty neat. They even have, I think, a listing with pictures of all the different people that had anything to do with the case.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's very thorough. And a whole bunch of theories. But of course, I'm not doing all the theories. We'd be here all day. Oh, one thing I almost forgot. They have something else that's really cool because, I mean, as much as I like looking at these pictures, they're all black and white. So this website, they have a little video that they've made where somebody has recreated or what do you call it?
Enhanced?
Sure.
They've enhanced the photos.
No, we'll go with that. But they're in color. So, I mean, it makes these people, to me, a little more real.
Okay.
I mean, it's just like they're so far in the past that it's hard to picture them as like us, you know? But
Real
when you
people.
see them, yeah, it's like, oh, they're not old people or they weren't at the time, you know?
Right.
Because you think about them now, they would be really old. But anyway, Igor Dyatlov was a 23-year-old radio engineer student at Ural Polytechnical Institute. And because it's polytechnical, I keep thinking it's technical. So when I go to abbreviate, I keep saying or thinking UTI.
He has a urinary tract infection.
Yeah, so if I say that, please excuse that.
Okay.
I mean UPI. It reminds me of that movie. Have you ever seen Accepted? Where that guy creates his own college and he calls it, because the local college is Hampton University or whatever it's called. And he names his Southampton Institute of Technology.
No, I've never seen that.
Which is SHIT.
No, I haven't seen that, but
It's really funny. It's older. We've obviously seen different movies in life.
yeah. So when you said Yuri, I thought of the movie Dr. Zhivago. Have you seen that?
No.
Okay, never mind.
Here we go.
Just keep going. It doesn't have vampires in it, though. You'll be proud.
I love vampires. So that's the one area where we overlap. Well, and this paranormal true crime stuff. I mean, I feel like the paranormal happened because of a lot of true crimes.
And vice versa. All right. So he was a student.
Yeah, he was a student at UPI. He started hiking just after the 7th grade. While in college, he joined a group for hiking. He was said to be a natural leader, so it's no surprise he gathered these other hikers together. So, he was the leader, obviously, because he gathered this group.
Yes, master. Igor or Yuri? I thought it was Yuri.
Igor. No, it was the Ural Mountains.
Okay. All right.
Well, there's some Uris.
Okay. All right.
So the other hikers, you had Rustam Slobodin. So he was 23. He had graduated already, and he was working in enterprise. I don't know. I tried to look it up, and it was like basically an entrepreneur.
Okay.
He was quiet but adventurous, and he played the mandolin.
Just like in Dr. Zhivago.
Girl, I don't... Okay. Anyway. And I love when somebody brings a guitar along and the acoustic guitar just sitting around by a campfire. That's one of my favorites.
No. Because A, I don't want to be camping. B, there's bugs. C, I have to walk to use the toilet. D, there's no electricity. E, don't you play that friggin' guitar because it's hot, there's bugs, and I'm dirty. I'll be so pissed. I'm like, shut the hell up with your guitar or your mandolin. Shut it up.
All right.
Igor. Yes, master.
We were talking about Slobodin. He was quiet but adventurous. He often brought the mandolin on trips. Yeah, you said you didn't like that. The next one we have is Zenaida Kolmogorova. They called her Xena.
The warrior princess?
Yeah, warrior princess. Yep. There were 2 women on the trip. Everybody else were men. She was 22. She was also a radio engineering student. She was known as the engine of the university. So she was very popular with everybody. I'm like, was this a really small university? Because I know where I went, there's no way I could possibly know everybody. Or even be in some version of a group where you were considered the engine of the university.
Josh knows everybody, no matter where we go. And it sounds like Danny does, too.
Yeah, and my mom. I'm just used to everybody around me knows everybody, and I'm just like, I gotta go to the bathroom.
And the older I get, the more I'm like, this is a great brand of toilet paper. It doesn't leave any debris behind.
Okay, so the next one we have is Yuri Doroshenko. He is 21. He was also a radio engineering student, so a bunch of smarties. He was known as impulsive, and he was actually in a former relationship with Xena, and they stayed friends.
Bad idea. Let's go out onto a mountain in the snow with your ex.
Yeah, well, I mean, they said that they were good afterwards. It was okay. But anyway, so the story of how she fell in love with him was actually pretty cute. They were on another expedition, and she fell in love with him when he chased a bear away.
Please insert the gif of that little boy's face again.
It's that hero thing.
No.
All right, so we have another Yuri, which this isn't his actual name. I want to say it was Georgie, but he prefers to be called Yuri. So it's Yuri Krivonashenko, I think. 23. He is good friends with Dyatlov, or was good friends. Okay, so he went on almost all of the expeditions with Dyatlov. He was also good friends with the majority of the group. He was often the life of the party. He was already an engineer, and he graduated from UPI. The other hikers, Lyudmila, they call her Lyuda Dubanina. She was 20. She was the youngest in the group. And she is, I wouldn't say the most important, but she's the most important when it comes to why this is a mysterious case. She was a engineering and economics student at UPI. Not much is said about her, though. I've read somewhere that she was like a strict communist. So, I mean, it sounds like she was one of those that was like a strict nun growing up.
Okay.
But it did say that she was starting to loosen up on the trip because they all kept diaries, or most of them did. So you have Semyon, which luckily he likes to be called Sasha, because I don't know how to say that very good. Zolotar, I'm going to get a like Zoltar machine. Big. Zolotaryov. He was 38. He was the oldest in the group. He was quite a bit older than the others. He is the most mysterious of the group. There are some theories about him because he has military background.
Well, where did they find him? Like, if they were all from UPI, where'd this guy come from?
Well, he was from the area, but not originally. He graduated at Minsk Institute of Physical Education.
Like a gym teacher.
Yeah, pretty much. He became a senior tourist instructor at Korovska Tour Base. Okay, so then we have Alexander Kolevitov. He was 24. He, to me, also actually is mysterious based off his background, but it was so much that I was getting confused because it was a lot of government and like war camps and something to do with war where his dad ended up getting killed at some point and then they lost everything. And there's all that information about him, about his family and all that, but I didn't see a whole lot about who he was as a person or his temperament or anything like that. Okay, so then we have Nikolai Thibault-Rignoles. He's a civil engineer graduate of UPI. He's very popular at UPI, or was. But there's no mention of how he knows all the other hikers, but I guess if he's popular, he knows everybody.
Right.
So, but it was like a sports group within the community where they all got together and would go hiking quite a bit. So this was something they did pretty regularly. It wasn't like a random out of the ordinary. Yeah.
And I guess to hike somewhere like that, you have to trust the people you're with. So you wouldn't just take people that you didn't know. You would take people that you were familiar with.
Yeah, I absolutely would not go on any kind of a hike or anywhere in the woods, really anywhere with anybody that I didn't fully trust.
Well, I was thinking, would I canoe with somebody I didn't know that well? Okay, maybe I might canoe. But would I whitewater raft with somebody I don't know? Hell no. I'm not going to trust you to save me from the rapids
Well, okay, quick question. You would go whitewater rafting?
No.
I was like, wait a minute.
No, I would never go whitewater rafting ever. But if I had to go, if God himself came down and said, you're going whitewater rafting, choose your team, I'm going to choose people that I trust.
We actually went whitewater rafting in Tennessee. Well, Danny looks like he's, in extreme sport whitewater rafting because he goes all in on anything sports related. But we hit this wave and I go flying. Like, I'm going out of this boat. He releases his paddle, throws his arm up, and shoves me back into the boat, and then grabs his paddle and starts paddling again. I mean, it was so fast. I was like, there goes my hero moment.
Josh would have been like, well, she lived a good life.
Somebody needs to go get her.
Somebody bring her body back. No, he probably would have tried.
So they were attempting to hike up to Otorten Mountain and the Lazva River. The Otorten Mountain is in the Ural Mountains in northern Sverdlovsk Oblast in Russia. These mountains are the westernmost point of Siberia, way out there. It's known for its harsh winters.
So let's go hiking it.
Right. Well, there's a reason for that. It was meant to be tough because the hikers were already grade 2 hikers with ski experience, and they were trying to receive a grade 3. And they had to go because I was like, why would you go? Because it was in February. Oh. Why would you go in the coldest time of probably one of the coldest places on Earth in February? Why?
Because you're a dumbass? I mean...
Yeah, I don't like to go outside in Florida in February.
I mean, bless their hearts, because obviously they didn't make it. So I apologize to the families for calling them dumbasses. But, let's trek up a mountain near Siberia in the middle of winter. Gonna take a hard pass.
We'll say it's less than smart.
Okay.
But,
that'll work.
So they had to go in February because that was the conditions that would make it a level 3. In order for them to get their certificate, they had to go during that time. But I couldn't find any clear grading system for Russia now. There you go with that pursed lip.
I'm sorry.
I've got to attach that
little
GIF.
boy's face.
It is the same.
I can feel it.
But I mean, I probably could have done it, but that was not without some deep study of mountain climbing. And had I had time, I would have done it because
I know you would have. All right, so they're all together. They're getting ready for a grade 3 Siberian mountain trek. Right. What could go wrong?
What could go wrong? So January 25th, 1959, the group took a train to Ivdel. Again, hope I'm saying that right. It's a town in the center of northern province of Sverdlovsk Oblast. Then they took a truck to Vizhai, the last inhabited settlement in the north. This is where we have something that kind of comes up later. Dubinina, she has some dissatisfaction. I think they all had a little dissatisfaction with their hotel stay or whatever. And she apparently was pretty mouthy about it to the staff and all, to where they didn't really like her. Apparently she was pretty vocal.
So what is she expecting at the last inhabited place?
I don't know. Maybe they were rude or something like that. I don't know. It was something that was in their diaries, but it was the article that I was reading, it was only like little snippets from their diaries. They weren't, and I'm not trying to sit there and read their diaries.
Right. If you had the time, you would.
No, I don't think so.
I would.
See, there, okay. You can read the diaries and I'll dip into all the facts.
Okay. Because I'd be like, what were you people thinking?
Exactly. Okay. So January 27th, 1959, they began their trek toward, it's called Gora Otorten now, or maybe it was always Gora Otorten. I don't know. So then the next day, there was a guy I didn't talk about. His name's Yuri Yudin. He's the one that made it back.
Okay.
Because he has rheumatism and congenital heart
Why?
defect.
Why would you do this?
Well, I mean, apparently he's done it quite a few times before, but he started to get knee and joint pain, and so he decided to turn back.
Yeah, rheumatism's like arthritis. You got the arthritis. Okay, never mind.
The rest of this is known from their diaries and cameras. January 31st, they arrived at the edge of the highland area and began to prepare to climb. February 1st, the hikers began to move through the pass. So it's believed that they planned to camp on the other side of the pass, but there was a snowstorm, and so they lost their direction. When they figured out that they lost their direction, that they had deviated west, they were close to Kolat Siakal. Is a lot of consonants in it. So,
where are your vowels?
Yeah, I need some stuff in between. Okay, so they decided to camp on this mountain. if I'm not mistaken, this is the same mountain that the Mansi people, which are the locals in the area, the indigenous people, they call this Dead Mountain or Death Mountain, because in their folklore or ancient, whatever you call it, they had 9 people that died on that mountain back in ancient times. So 9 people in 9. So had Yuri stayed, would they have survived? So they decided to camp on this mountain. There was a forested mountain about a mile downhill that would have provided shelter from the weather. So it's kind of weird that they actually camped here on the mountain, especially when there was a storm. So Yudin, which is the one that turned back, he thinks that they didn't go to the forest because maybe Dyatlov he didn't want to lose the altitude, or he was trying to practice camping on a slope. So, I mean, I would understand that if there wasn't a storm, but since there was a storm, I mean, it seems stupid to let's try this out in really bad weather.
Right. Do you think maybe the snowstorm was so bad that they couldn't see?
Yeah, I was kind of wondering that as well.
Yeah.
All right, so originally their sports club, they expected to hear from them on February 12th. So
that's a long time.
So 10 days later, but Dyatlov told Yudin it would probably be longer. So when they didn't hear from them by February 12th, they weren't originally alarmed. But when the hikers weren't heard from by February 20th, the families demanded the search and rescue. The first rescue groups consisted of just volunteers and students, because I guess they didn't take it that seriously. But eventually the army and the police got involved. So on February 26th, they found the tent, the hiker's tent. Their belongings and their shoes had been left behind.
What?
Yeah. So other odd things, the tent was cut open from the inside. So it was
they were trying to get out.
Yeah, and probably quickly. There were 9 sets of footprints leading to the edge of the nearby woods.
So they found their tent, but was it in the place where they first decided to camp?
Yeah, so it was still there. But even in these footprints, some of them were wearing socks or one shoe or even barefoot.
Ooh, in the snowstorm.
Yeah, nobody who knows what to do in snow is going to do that.
Right.
I mean,
it had to have been an emergency.
Yeah. The footprints, they went all the way to about, I read one place that was only 15 feet away or 16 feet away, and another place where it was 1,600 feet away. So they found the first 2 bodies. They were actually at the edge of the forest. There was remnants of a fire, but they were without shoes and they were in their underwear. And I have to admit, I always think about, my experience with Florida, and I'm picturing them in boxers.
Right.
But I know their underwear is kind of the, what do you call that?
Long underwear, thermal.
Yes, with the flap in the butt, probably, where you can go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
There were also a Siberian pine tree, and there were branches broken 16 feet up. They think that was them climbing up to try to see the camp. Okay, so that was those 2. So they found them first.
Who were they?
Yuri Krivonashenko. Mm-hmm. He was the one that was Mr. Popular. And then we had the other Yuri, Doroshenko. And it's easy to remember because it's the Shenkos.
Right.
So they were the first 2. Then they found the 3 other bodies, and it appeared that they were trying to get back to the camp because of the direction that they were walking in. So it was almost like they all went to this one site. They probably had a fire, and then these 3 attempted to go back to the camp. Dyatlov was found 980 feet from the tree. Kolmogorova, which is one of the girls, the Zena, she was found 1,570 feet from the tree, so quite a bit further.
Right.
And then Slobodin, he was found 2,070 feet from the tree.
Wow.
So it's obviously one of them fell out, the other 2 kept going.
Right.
Then the one fell out and the other kept going.
Yeah.
It was found that they died of hypothermia. I couldn't get that out.
Which would make sense.
Yeah.
Were they also in their thermal underwear?
No, they said that they had more clothes on. They weren't in their underwear, but they still weren't dressed appropriately. So they obviously still left in things that they didn't get dressed like they were supposed to.
So they escaped the camp, obviously under duress.
Well, you would think, but the footprints, they suggest that they just walked away.
But they ripped it open from the inside.
I know. But if you were escaping that quickly, you would think you would run. But they were just walking. And, it was just the 9 of them, so there were only 9 footprints. Footprints. I'm going to stop. What do I
just
call
say
it?
Footprints.
Footprints. All right, we'll get that. Anyway, the other 4 bodies weren't found for 2 months.
Oh.
They were actually found in a ravine. Yeah, this is where it gets weird. So they were found under 13 feet of snow. It was 246 feet further into the woods past the tree. So you have Thibaut Brignole. He had a fatal skull injury, it said, but I thought it said that, no, it was him. Because there was another one that had a skull fracture, but they said it wasn't fatal. Obviously, he hit his head on something.
Right. Or he was hit.
Yeah. So then you have Kolovatov. He died of hypothermia, but he was missing his eyebrows.
What?
Now, if that means that they were ripped off.
Burnt off?
Yeah. How they were off, I didn't see. So that's weird. Then you have Zolotaryov.
Good job.
Eyeballs were missing.
No.
Yes.
No.
He died of severe chest trauma. Weird thing is there were no external wounds.
Your eyes being removed didn't cause... Ooh, no. Mm-mm.
Yeah, but, I mean, we don't know if they were removed before or after.
I hope it was after.
Yeah, me too. Dubinina, the other girl, was also missing her eyes.
Oh.
She also died of chest trauma, internal bleeding.
So only the people in the ravine, 3 of them, right? 1 was missing eyebrows, 2 were missing eyes.
Well, actually, I wasn't done. Dubinina
Oh, Lord.
is also missing her tongue.
Oh, no.
3 out of the 4 had on more clothes than the others. And it appears that it was the clothes from the dead people.
Right. That makes sense.
So Dubinina was wearing Krivonashenko's burnt, torn trousers. Her left foot and shin were wrapped in a torn jacket. So, I mean, they were just doing their best to survive, but wow. So, the investigation. It started right after they found the first 5 bodies. They found no injuries that led to their deaths. Oh, here it goes. The Slobodan, he had a small crack in his skull, but it was determined that that wasn't fatal.
Okay. So maybe he just hit his head on something and was like, ow, and kept on going.
Maybe. Slobodan was the one that made it the furthest back to the camp. Obviously, he wasn't too badly hurt. Or maybe he hurt himself when he was by himself.
Right.
Who knows?
Maybe something fell out of the giant tree and hit him on the head.
Not a coconut.
No. It's a chipmunk.
Do they have those there?
No, probably not in Siberia.
Okay, so the medical examination of the 4 bodies that they found 2 months later, that's what changed the investigation. Because before that, hypothermia, they ripped open the tent. It sounds a little like,
weird.
Okay, it's weird, but maybe they couldn't get the zipper open, or if there was a zipper, I don't know. No idea when zippers were invented. But anyway, so all of that seemed, I mean, maybe a little weird, the cutting the tent out, but it was still kind of, okay, they died of hypothermia.
Yeah. It's cold out here. You got too cold, yeah.
Yeah. But when they had all these weird injuries, that was when they started wondering, did somebody do this to them? They did say that their injuries, where they had the chest injuries and the skull fracture, they said that it's kind of consistent with a car crash. I mean, don't you normally have external damage with a car crash?
No, you can have soft tissue damage. It's hard to determine injuries due to soft tissue damage because it can be hard to diagnose.
No, I mean like the chest, because, where they had like the broken ribs in their chest and then the skull fracture, and there were no external, the soft tissue damage was just on their face.
But even if you hit the steering wheel or something like that, there
true.
would be a big bruise or something there that would look like something externally hit this person and cause this damage.
Yeah, it would almost be like something had to fall on them. Or, I mean, I think, if you fell down the ravine, but I still think,
I was wondering if maybe they ate something. Because, if you eat something or you ingest or exposed to a virus or something like that, like Ebola, you're going to bleed from your orifices even though there's no external damage. Like, you're not going to have a puncture wound or a bite or a bruise or something like that caused it. It's because of something inside of your body that's causing that issue. So I wonder if they, ate something.
Yeah, but I mean, would that break their ribs or cause a skull fracture?
It wouldn't cause a skull fracture, but for chest damage, depending on what it is, it could cause maybe your heart to explode. I don't know. I'm just thinking outside of the box.
Yeah, I mean, you have to with this.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, nobody really knows what happened. So they say that the injuries had to be caused by some sort of extreme pressure. And info about the skiers' internal organs was not released. So if, like you said, if there was some sort of thing that they ate and it, like you said, make their heart explode, they didn't mention anything about that in the inquest.
Yikes.
And then they said because of the location of where their bodies were with the stream, that they believe that the external injuries happened post-mortem. I don't know how that has anything to do with it being by a stream. Maybe if they think it was animals, because, animals come to the stream to get water.
I don't know that one.
What animal just eats eyeballs and a tongue?
And eyebrows.
Yeah, I mean, ugh.
I don't know. That doesn't make sense.
Me either. And why not eat
the rest of them?
Well, I mean, I get maybe, because the clothes are on the rest of them, but still, I don't know.
Well, I was thinking Siberia with the cold. Vultures can't live out there, can they?
I don't know. I don't know about their wildlife. I mean, even if they could, why would you just go after the eyeballs? And I mean, it would look like, to me, like birds did it.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Like, it would have to be something that flies to land on the body, to peck out the eyes. And I don't know how a bird would peck out a tongue and then fly off. That way there's no tracks left.
Yep.
And thinking about the 2 men that died by where the fire was. Mm-hmm. Obviously, they died before the people in the ravine, because it sounds like the people in the ravine had already come by and stolen their clothes, right? Because they
stole their clothes.
Well, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because they were in their long underwear and the people in the ravine had extra clothes on.
But it's like, they all ended up at the place where the fire was. And then they decided they had to do something. So 3 went one direction to try to see if they could get their stuff from the tent. And then the other 4 decided to go in the other direction. And they knew, because they didn't have enough clothing, that they wouldn't all survive in that situation. So maybe it was one of those like draw sticks, short sticks or whatever, straws, or some just volunteered to give up their clothes for the possibility of survival for some to go get help.
Hell no, you're not.
Well, I mean, you're going to stay by the fire. So
No.
you think it's a possibility to stay there. I mean, the thing is, if they could figure out who died first when, that might help that thought process. You know what I mean? Because if they all, like, if the people by the fire died at the same time, if not after the people in the ravine, it would have had to been that they gave their clothes up. But if they died before, it would obviously be like, oh, they died, well, let's at least take their clothes and go try to survive. So, of course, the cause of death was some compelling natural source.
That could be anything.
Yeah. So the suspects initially, they thought maybe the Mansi people might have done something to them, because they thought oh, they're encroaching on their land. But actually they helped them out before, and they're considered peaceful people. There was one that they think kind of went crazy, and so they think everybody was trying to hurry up and get away from him, and that's why they cut the tent open to get out. But to me, that doesn't make sense, because then why then walk?
Yeah, and you had enough people. Why didn't everybody jump on top of him, pin him down?
Yeah. And there were actually no signs of hand-to-hand contact. So, like, no fighting. Mm-hmm. They didn't seem to think anybody had gotten in a fight. And they didn't think anybody fought amongst themselves. All right. Some of the weird things that were reported by other people. This 12-year-old boy who went to 5 of the funerals, and he claimed they had, like, a deep brown tan. And that in and of itself, maybe it was something to do with the freezing to death. One of the autopsies, and they were saying the guy had the blue extremities, but everywhere else was like this deep orangish tan color.
Weird.
Yeah. Even some of the family members said it too. They saw they had like orange skin, but that was, I think, all of them. There were also these strange orange orbs or spheres that there were hikers that were 31 miles away, and they reported them. And I think somebody else did too. And people were reporting them for like the next 2 months. And so it was like, which that obviously leads to like UFO theories.
Right.
But they seem to think that it might be something to do with the military practicing certain things, or it could just be like some phenomenon.
Yeah. So that theory kind of works with maybe they were in the wrong place at the wrong time, since they went off course.
Exactly.
And they got to a spot where military testing was going on. And
yeah, maybe where they weren't supposed to be. Yeah, because they had to get their route approved before they even went. So, yeah, if they went off course, that was not an approved course. Right. So, yeah, like you say, it could be. I hadn't thought about that.
To think about, like if they got in the wrong place at the wrong time and the Russian military were working on things and they didn't think anybody was out there.
Right. Well, I think the Russians, even in modern history, I think they've done tests on their own people. Maybe they were like, oh, some people, let's test it out.
Right, let's see what happens.
Yeah, who knows? Anyway, so the orbs that they were reporting, they weren't mentioned in the investigation reports.
Okay.
Which is weird, because apparently there were quite a few people that mentioned them. But, I guess they're probably like, a UFO did not do this.
Right, like we don't want any kind of paranormal.
And who are we going to investigate? Are we going to interview the orb?
Right.
So what's the point, really? So they closed the investigation very quickly, which was in May. They found the other 4 in early May.
Which, again, points to maybe the government.
They have something called a parachute mine exercise. And I don't know if I'm mixing this up with one of the ones that I guess there were American spies over there doing stuff too. It's where they explode in the air. So they think it was like a loud explosion and it woke them up and they freaked out.
Okay.
But again, you would run away, right? It's just none of these, like with the freak out, the minute they start walking away, it kind of, it's like it would have had to been something that freaked them out for the moment and then they realized everything was okay. But now there's some reason that they still have to leave the camp or the tent and they can't get their stuff, you know?
But I'm thinking, even if you're hearing that, you're not going to cut open your tent. You're going to look out your tent.
Or hide. Like, let's pretend I'm not here.
Right. You're not going to be like, this is our only source of shelter. Let's rip it open from the inside.
Right. It does not make... I'm one to hide. The minute I hear something, I'm like, I'm a ninja.
You can't see me.
Exactly. I am not here. If somebody knocks on my door, I'm like, I'm not here. Yeah. Oh, it says it here. They detonate in the air. So I guess that is that one. And they say that they do have some of the signature injuries that come from it, where it's that little external trauma, but they have the internal trauma. Mm-hmm. And that would explain the orange orbs too.
Okay, yes.
But does it explain the eyeballs and the tongue? I mean, is it possible? Sure, but... All right, so there's like similar theories about the radiological weapons being tested since the radioactivity on their clothing. And their orange skin and gray hair.
Weird.
It's funny because, like, I read in all these different places, and it's like as you read different things, different articles or websites, they'll add, like, one extra little thing that you didn't hear before. Like, that was the first time I heard they had gray hair.
Yeah.
This is something I haven't mentioned, but there were some levels of radiation that were found on the victim's clothing. One or two of them... The one that was already an engineer, he worked at a plant where they had some sort of a spill or something. I can't remember. I think it was the one where they compared it to Chernobyl.
Okay.
And so he had to go clean it up. So if he happened to be wearing the same clothes that he was wearing there, which I'm not sure why he would be wearing those same clothes. He just happened to have those same clothes on that day.
Well, I was thinking also it's 1956. So how much information do they really have about radioactive spills and how to properly clean them? Because thinking like Chernobyl, that was in the 80s, right? And they barely knew what to do. So in the 50s... they might not have known how really dangerous it was. So even if it wasn't the same clothes he had on, if he was subjected to high levels of radiation, it's in his body.
Yeah, they didn't report about it being in his body. It was just on those clothes. So that was weird.
That is weird.
And, you know, if it were some sort of where they came into contact with it, whatever, you would think it would be on everybody's clothes. Yeah. Not just the one, unless he got closest to it. I don't know. It doesn't make sense.
In the middle of Siberia?
Yeah. Well, there's other things that happen out there that I'll mention later, like military things. But I mean, they did know quite a bit about nuclear because that's when they started creating all the nuclear bombs. You know, that's the Cold War. You know,
Yeah, but they didn't really know what the long-term effects were.
Oh, yeah. No idea. I don't know.
Okay, that is weird.
Yeah. So there are other theories. There's a bunch of them, but the kind of fun ones, I guess.
Okay.
There's, they think infrasound. Basically, wind goes around the mountain and creates a Kármán vortex stream.
Ooh.
And it produces something called infrasound, which causes panic attacks. Here's the thing. I've had panic attacks. You know, I know everybody's different. I know everybody goes through things differently, but a panic attack feels like you're dying. You know, you feel like you're having a heart attack. You feel like you can't breathe. I'm not going to just go jumping out of a tent. And if that's the case, did you only panic for a moment to jump out of the tent or to cut your way out, and then all of a sudden you calm down and you're just walking? A panic attack lasts so much longer than that. I mean, it's like, it's this thing that, have you ever had one?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, for you, was it like that? I mean,
for me, it was just like extreme stress and not being able to control my emotions. So I was looking for something in particular and I couldn't find it. It totally set me off. And so it was a receipt so I could turn in my books at the college and get money back because my dad had bought my books. And you know how my dad is about money. And I couldn't find it. And I knew he was just going to be so pissed. And the only thing I want in life is not to disappoint my dad. Mm-hmm. And it totally threw me off. And I was crying. I ransacked my room looking for this thing. I didn't want to hear what anybody had to say. I almost like could not hear people talking to me. I was so upset. Mm-hmm. And it took me a long time to like just calm down. I never did find the receipt, by the way. My dad didn't care. But it was, you know.
You freaked out.
Yeah.
One of the theories is the Yeti. But the whole thing is it's like a big foot. So wouldn't there be big feet prints?
Well, that's what I was thinking when you were talking about the investigation and everything. Was like, if they found those footprints, you're telling me there were no other footprints around? That's odd. Like, how did they get to the ravine? Either they walked there or something drug them there.
Oh, no, the ravine. Well, because the footprints, I'm struggling with that. So the footprints, remember, they ended before they got to where they were.
But that's what I'm saying is, like, how did they then get to the ravine if there were no footprints and no drag marks or anything like that?
Well, and why did the footprints stop there?
It's very odd.
It is. And, really, if somebody came in and really wanted to do something to them, I mean, if they're smart enough, they could cover their tracks.
Yeah, but you'd still think, like, if you were making footprints in the way that you said they were created, even if you were trying to cover it, there would be something where it'd be like, well, this snow has also been messed with, right?
Right.
I mean, I'm not Scooby-Doo. I'm just saying it would be odd for that not to occur.
It can be Scooby-Doo. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking also, why were there not footprints, like you're saying, from when they were setting up the tent?
You would have to get out of the tent to pee.
Yeah.
Or poop.
Yeah, I mean... I don't like to think about that in the wilderness.
I'm just saying, like, there should have been other prints. There should have been other...
I agree. Yeah, it's awfully weird. And unless you're not walking in a straight line, how do you find these 9 distinctive footprints? I mean, like, you got to be walking on top of somebody else's. I understand if it was like 3 or 4 people, but 9 people.
I don't know. I don't know how it works. And I don't know if we're unfamiliar with snow. And that's
definitely.
where, like, we're drawing a blank. But it sounds odd.
We don't know. There's some problem with the footprints.
Okay.
But one of the things that actually contributes to the Yeti theory is they have this, the hikers or the campers the night before, apparently they did this satirical story that they wrote, and they called it the Evening or Toten. I think that's supposed to be Evening Otorten because that's the name of the mountain. So it says, from now on, we know that the snowman exists. They can be met at the northern Urals next to Otorten. But it's apparent from the way that it was written that, they were just having fun with it. So people are like, you can't take that into account. And I think there was like the last picture was really out of focus, and it looked like it was, some type of dark figure in the background or whatever. And the Yeti's supposed to be white.
Yes.
So there's a theory that maybe Dubonina made somebody mad, and they decided, because she has the worst injuries. So if it were somebody who did this, it appears that they really did it to hurt her and then caused all the problems with everybody else. Nobody really knows, though. But anyway, and, as I mentioned before about the groups of 9, something that seems pretty weird. They say, like, don't go out there in groups of 9 because of that, the old ancient folklore of the Mansi people with that 9 people dying on what they call Dead Mountain. And now you have the 9 people of the Dyatlov Pass Incident. And then apparently in 1991, there was a plane crash in the area that killed 9 people.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, I don't know how true that is. I didn't look it up. But so there's later investigations because, they're still trying to figure this out. People are still very fascinated with it. Apparently there was a repeat 2015 investigation, and they basically found all the same things. But they did say that there was wind speeds that reach up to hurricane force, but it said 45 to 67 miles per hour.
That's a tropical storm.
I know. I was like, come on.
We're still outside.
Yeah, definitely. But, we don't have snow. So
Yeah,
maybe it's definitely different with that. And they said that the investigators in 1959 did not consider this. And I'm like, rude, make an assumption that we didn't consider stuff. I mean, they were from the area. I'm sure they did consider wind speeds and all that,
I mean, you'd have to. Look where you are.
Plus, I mean, if it was a true hurricane, even tropical storm or category 1, stuff gets knocked over. Those skis would not still be sticking up out the ground.
No.
That tent wouldn't. So, I mean, unless the snow hit it first.
And there would have been more than just a shallow layer of snow on the bodies.
Right.
Because it would have been whipping that snow around.
All right. So in 2020, they had like a computer simulator in Switzerland. It simulated and did the analysis, and it said that it was an avalanche. So, I mean, they keep doing all these models, and they keep trying to say, oh, it was an avalanche. It's like, it's not an avalanche. It doesn't explain all the other stuff.
It doesn't explain the missing eyeballs.
I know. Well, they try to say that that's just scavengers after the fact. But again, what scavenger do? Please, anybody who knows, Tell me what scavenger just eats eyeballs and a tongue.
So they just closed the investigation without really ever knowing.
I have other things that say like it contradicts. So evidence of an avalanche would have had to be present, and it wasn't. And the people that investigated did not mention anything related to an avalanche. And I would think there would be some sort of evidence. Like they said that it would damage the tree lines and it would have swept their bodies away. And one of the things is the way they used to hang the tents is like they would take their skis and they would stand them upright and they would use the rope in between the two skis.
Oh, smart.
Right. And the skis were still standing.
Yeah, they wouldn't have lasted through an avalanche.
Right. I mean, unless there's some amazing skis that we don't make anymore.
1959, yeah.
Exactly. And the first 5 bodies were found under a shallow layer of snow. So it's like, if it was an avalanche, it would have been a lot more. Also, an avalanche has never been mentioned in over 100 expeditions in the region.
Wow.
So it's like, obviously, they're not very common in this area. And also, like, the way the tent caved in, it doesn't coincide with the direction that an avalanche would have had to come. Because, like, it came in, like, a very specific side.
Right.
I don't know where I say it, but there's, like, I can't remember what they call it, but it's basically, like, rock formations that just stick out. And apparently the tent was really close to that to where, I guess, wind kind of blows around that rock formation. Right. And it actually would have stopped an avalanche from hitting their tent.
Right, so the snow would have slid off the rock and gone almost like over and around their tent.
Right. Yep. Okay, this part does sort of make sense. It's like because it was on a slope, they did have to dig in to the snow a little bit so that they could be on a flat surface. Mm-hmm. And they think that because it weakened the snow, that maybe the snow above it just collapsed in on the tent.
Okay.
Which sounds possible. And if that's the case, then I could understand you thinking maybe there is an avalanche, but you get out the tent in a hurry. And when you realize it's not an avalanche, maybe the snow is too heavy on the tent. And so you're like, well, now we have to find other shelter. Like, we can't get all our stuff, so let's go down to those tree lines. Mm-hmm. Or, you'd have to think, obviously we thought maybe they didn't go to the tree line before because they couldn't see it. So if it were really so windy, how would they see it now to know it was down there? So, I don't know. Just some stuff just doesn't add up. It doesn't go together. Like, they either know about the tree line or they didn't, or they could suddenly see the tree line when they couldn't before. And if they could, obviously the visibility conditions weren't as bad.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know. There's so many different things. And because I have no experience with snow and snow hiking, and it doesn't make sense.
It just seems a little fishy.
Yeah, it's strange. I mean, it's strange without the eyeballs being missing and the tongue being gone, but it's still...
I feel like the missing eyeballs, tongue, and eyebrows, though...
It's next level.
Like, that should have really just raised some eyebrows. Gotten some attention.
Obviously, there's a crap load of theories, especially because of the eyes and the tongue.
Yeah, that's the part that really bothers me.
Yeah.
I mean, death is bad, but...
I think what really bothers me the most, as I've said it so many times, is the freaking out in the tent and then you get out and you walk away.
Yeah, like, let's just walk away slowly, calmly.
Exactly. Be very quiet. That would make sense. If you don't want to run away, cause a commotion, and you just want to be really quiet.
That does.
You might be
You solved
something.
your own problem.
All right. As I said, there's a whole lot of information out there, and I'm going to have to stop here because it's too much. I could go down all kind of rabbit holes, and I'm not going to.
Okay.
I could have studied this for months probably and still not have all the information.
Well, it sounds like nobody really has all the information, and the information that is out there, like, some of it contradicts itself. So... Mm-hmm.
And you have to throw out all these different theories, which has their own background and their own history and their own understanding. So it's like, so you have to understand the military stuff, and you have to understand what even...
Grade 2 climbing and all kinds of everything.
And if there were a Yeti, what would be Yeti evidence? I mean,
Yeti scat.
The UFO. Yeah. Yeti what?
Yeti scat.
What's that?
Poop.
Okay. That's the end.
That's disturbing.
Yeah. So interesting and fascinating, though. And I love stories like this. And it's almost like it's really fun. But then whenever I start to really investigate it, and you start to really investigate the people, and they almost become personal to you. And then you're kind of like, well, what did happen to you?
Yeah.
And like, it's not, I hate to say it, but it's like, it's not as fun anymore. But I mean, it is still, I love a mystery to try to figure it out. Especially because some people's theories, it's like, no.
But see, to me, it's frustrating. It's like somebody somewhere knows what happened and nobody's going to say anything. I need to know what happened to eyeballs and eyebrows and a tongue.
Yeah, where are these eyebrows? Yeah, where are the eyebrows?
The eyebrows don't even make sense. Like, if it was a scavenger, they're not going to take your eyebrows.
Yeah, I mean, that was the only part that seemed animal-like, maybe. A little hairy. Maybe he had bushy eyebrows.
Oh, good call. Like, look at these caterpillars. You can find us on Instagram at
Southern Belles and Chilling Tales.
You can follow us on Twitter at
SB Chilling Tales.
Check out our website at
southernbellesandchillingtales.com.
If you have a paranormal, true crime, or just plain weird story you'd like us to cover,
or you have your own personal tale,
please email us at
southernbellesandchillingtales@gmail.com. We hope you join us next time for our next chilling tale.
Thanks for listening.